Welcome into another edition of the Coach's Corner. We want to thank everybody for joining us again for another great interview that we have in store today here. Before we start, just wanted to let you know to make sure to subscribe on our YouTube page as well as our podcast here so you can listen to all the interviews that we have, as well as check us out all on PhenomenHoopReport.com with a bunch of content, articles, as well as our postings of our Coach's Corner episodes here. So I have myself here from Patrick O'Brien. I have Rick Lewis, and we also have a special guest here, a name that you will definitely be you'll be hearing a lot in the coming years. So we have Coach Gary Hall that will be coaching at South Meck. Rick, I'll let you fire away. I know you got some great questions, and he's got some great stories for us.
Well, Coach, first of all, I want to send condolences to you for the passing of your mom and your dad this past week. And I want to say thank you for giving us the time and opportunity to talk to you today. But I know you went back to Texas, but explain to everybody about your mom and your dad. It was a celebration of life. Can you elaborate on that, Coach?
Well, I appreciate that, Rick. And, first of all, thanks so much for having me. Certainly, it's been a heck of a week for us. My mom passed away a week ago yesterday, and then my dad passed away on Sunday, and it truly is a celebration. Mom and dad were together for 63 years. I was joking with my sister. Dad started chasing mom when she was 13 years old, and he never let up, and he continued that chase right up until Sunday afternoon when he left this world to go be with mom. So my sister and I we're in a good place. We know as a coach, we spend a lot of time talking to our teams and our players to leave everything out on the floor. No regrets. And I can say that mom and dad did that. No regrets. There were no conversations that we wish we would have had. There's no, gosh, one more time, I wish I would have said I love you. And so we're in, now I will tell you that I'm a mama's boy, and I'm proud of that. And, the hardest thing is, I've picked up the phone several times, today even, to call mom. I picked up the phone to call her to tell her I was going to be doing an interview with you. So it's hard, but again, no regrets. And you know what? My sister and I, my family, we're happy that mom and dad are together and that they're in a better place and there's no more suffering.
Thank you for sharing that. That's quite touching. And, you grew up in Herndon, Virginia, pretty much your entire life. You graduated from George Mason University. You spent 26 years as a head coach. You have a tremendous record, Coach. You're 486 wins, 230 losses. You've coached 36 players that's gone on to play collegiately. You won 13 Coach of the Year honors, 4 district championships, and just recently, you were selected to coach in the 2020 McDonald's All-American game. So you started out at Herndon, Virginia in 1989. You had a nice 18-year run at Herndon, Virginia, and then you took a sabbatical and you went to coach at Middlesburg Academy in Virginia, and your record was 28-6. And then you went back to Herndon, Virginia, and finished up from 2011 to 2016 for 5 years. That's an important, part of your coaching career. And during that time period, you went 392 wins and 189 losses. Again, 36 players, 11 Coach of the Year awards, and you won the Northern Region Championship. So you had a great tenure in Northern Virginia. Both at Herndon High School and also when you went to Middlesburg Academy. What made you decide to move to Texas and coach in the Texas area?
So, as you'll see, family is very important to me. And during that time, just something that's not on my resume, I stopped. So the entire time that I coached at Middleburg, I always was a teacher at Herndon High School. So I taught at Herndon High School my entire teaching career up until retirement. But my last year of Herndon High School, my daughters were freshmen in high school. And at that time, they were playing JV basketball, and it was important for me to see my daughters play. So playing JV basketball, I could get to their games, watch their game, and then hustle over to my game. And I had a great staff that had everything set up for me, so all I had to do was go in and coach. I knew the following year as 10th graders, my daughters would most likely make varsity basketball. And it was really important for me that I not miss any of their games. So I made the tough, difficult decision to resign as the head coach at Herndon High School. And one of the things that was really, really important is my daughters weren't great basketball players. And because of that, it was even more important for me to be there for them. I never wanted them to think, oh, if we were great players, Dad would come to our games. So because they weren't great players, it was more important that I be there for them. So then, as luck would have it, their coach, their varsity coach, started asking me, we started talking basketball. And then he asked me to come to some preseason workouts. And then he asked me if I would mind being his assistant coach. And so I had to run that by my daughters, and I had coached them and their friends growing up. Well, then about a week before the season started, he came to me and he's like, who am I kidding? He's like, I'm a football coach. I don't know anything about basketball. Would you be willing to be the head coach? I'll keep the title. I'll do all the paperwork and you do the basketball. So I became the girls basketball coach at Briarwoods High School. And it was probably, of all my years of coaching basketball, that particular year was probably the most enjoyable year I've ever had coaching. So, but then what brought me to Texas again, after high school in Virginia, my daughters wanted to get away to college. I have twin daughters, and they wanted to get away for college. And as much as I tried to, I took them to Virginia Tech football games on a Saturday night, UVA football games, UNC Chapel Hill, Clemson. As much as I tried to get them to stay in the area, which I told you earlier probably worked against me, they decided both to attend Baylor. So my daughters graduated from Baylor, met their husbands at Baylor, got jobs in the Houston area, started a family. I retired, and I'm in Houston, Texas. Never in my life did I ever imagine that I would be in Houston, Texas.
Well, I know how big football is down in Houston, Texas. I used to live right across the state line in Lake Charles in high school. But your first year in Texas, you were coaching at Natchitoches High School. And you were telling me when you came there, they only won one game the year before, and then y'all had a record of 23-12. And you ended up being conference 17 5A Coach of the Year and district champions. And then the next year, you moved over to St. Thomas High School for 2 years. You had a 48-20 record, and you were consecutive state quarterfinal appearances. So, you've had success in Virginia at Herndon. You went to a private school there, Natchitoches, also St. Thomas. So no matter where you went, you had success to follow you all throughout your journey and steps along the way. Now, that being said, you had the success down in Texas. What was the allure and the appeal to come to North Carolina and be the head coach at South Mecklenburg?
Well, I tell you, so much of, as any walk of life, so much of success is timing. I was fortunate enough to take over programs, and I think this is the case. At least I hope Joseph, Bryson, Trent, I hope they're listening. I inherited great players. And so the previous coach before me, they laid the groundwork. And again, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. I always thought that I would end up in North Carolina, which is why I worked and tried so hard to get my daughters to go to UNC Chapel Hill. As you know, many people that teach in Fairfax County, where I'm from, they retired to North Carolina. We vacationed in the Outer Banks. I learned the game of basketball at UNC basketball camps. Some of my biggest mentors were high school coaches and college coaches in the state of North Carolina. I spent 15 years working at Coach Smith's camps. So my daughters, as we talked about the future, they said, "Dad, where do you want to live?" And I said, "I want to live in North Carolina." And they're like, "Well, listen, you need to take a basketball job in the state of North Carolina." And so I started looking around for jobs in North Carolina, and I saw the South Meck job posted. I applied, and to be honest with you, I thought it was a real long shot to get a job coming from out of state. And
Right.
And also, to be quite honest, because of my age. So I knew that it would take a special administration to take a chance on me. So I received a phone call from Coach Garcia, and we talked for about an hour, and it was a wonderful conversation, and I felt great chemistry. I felt that I felt that South Mecklenburg needed me, and I felt like I needed South Meck. And the thing that I'm so impressed is they have the success of all organizations start at the top. And with Principal Starnes, Athletic Director Garcia, South Meck has tremendous leadership. And they are committed, absolutely committed to excellence in everything that they do. And so I wanted to be a part of that.
In the past 8 seasons, South Meck has only had 3 winning seasons, and it was usually barely above 100. What can you tell the fans and the players of what they can expect out of your teams this coming season?
Well, this is what I told my seniors. Like, I'm coming to Charlotte, North Carolina to win. I mean, this isn't, I grew up as a Washington Redskin fan. And when I was young, George Allen came to town, and he took over a football program, and his motto was, "The future is now." So, you know what? My seniors, they don't want to hear about a 5-year plan. They want to know how can I help them win next year? And I believe, I think that I think I bring some credibility. I think I'm sincere. I think that I'm reliable. I'm trustworthy. And when you talked about like Nacogdoches, and I will be honest with you, and I'm not saying this Lou Holtz, I'm not like that coach before me probably was a better X and O coach than I am. When I took over the program, he had stacks and stacks of statistics, and I mean, he charted every single thing. But I think the piece that we miss as coaches is the relationship piece. It doesn't matter how much I know about basketball unless those kids know how much I care about them. They don't care how much I know. And so I think I'm a good salesman. I think I believe in myself, and I believe in my abilities. And so if I can't get them to buy into what I'm selling, how much basketball I know is irrelevant. But what I can tell you is, like, people ask this, well, what's your philosophy? What's your style of play? I do whatever I can to help my kids win basketball games. And my job as a coach is to put my kids in the best possible situation to be successful. And if I was a college coach, I could recruit to fit my system, but I can't do that. And so I have to watch my kids play. I have to evaluate, and then I will build a system that will put my players at South Mecklenburg in the best possible situation to be successful.
Well, I think coaching is also based on relationships with the players. You know, we can all have X's and O's, but if we don't know how to relate to the players and get the message across to them, it sometimes gets lost in the shuffle. And also, there's something about players who believe in a coach, that have that trust factor, that they'll run through a brick wall if they believe in the coach. And they know that when you believe in them. It's sort of like watching The Last Dance, and, you know, you look at Phil Jackson on how he knew how to manage egos, how he knew how to manage people. And that's sometimes one of the things that we sort of take for granted in coaching. As a high school coach, you're dealing with young teenagers. So you have to deal with the everyday nuances that they come in contact with. And I think that relationship that you build with the players, the rapport, is going to be very important to the success of the team this year. Now, the team went 13-12 last year. You do have 6'8" junior, or be a rising senior, Joseph Ferrante, returning. He was the only player on the team that averaged in double figures. He averaged 12.7 points a game, 7.1 rebounds. And then you also have another player that could be really a breakout type player, in my opinion, is Bryson Nesbitt. Now, he only averaged 5.2 points a game and 3.8 rebounds. But if you look at the team last season, it was a team that was a very methodical. They really executed as far as took a lot of time off the clock. They didn't get a lot of shots. It was more of a low possession type of offense. So I think that being said, you know, there's a lot of things to be looking forward to, and you can build around those two players because they do have good size.
No question. And, you know, getting back to your point about relationship, I was telling someone just the other day, I think relationships with my players contribute to 90% of my wins or losses. And it's really, there's only so much you can do X and O wise. And,
right.
And you know, like the foremost words I can use as a coach is I believe in you. That means more to a kid than how many reps. So if I believe in one of my kids, there's a greater chance he's going to make that game-winning free throw. That has more to do with him making that free throw than how many repetitions and how often we shoot free throws in practice. So to be able to tell a kid, I believe in you, that's pretty powerful. And so getting back to talking about last year's team, and I think Coach did a great job last year of doing what he needed to do to help his kids be successful. Here's what I have too much attention deficit to take a lot of time off the clock. That's just not something that you're going to see in the future with a South Meck basketball program. And I played for a coach, and I think we're all products of our environment. I played for a coach that if you took a bad shot, you came out of the game. So I was constantly looking over my shoulder, and I was playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. And so I tend to go a little bit like I've never taken a kid out of a game because of a bad shot. Now, I will take you out of the game because you didn't take a charge. I will take you out of the game because you don't dive on the floor after a loose ball. But we're going to get up and down. I just think we don't have a shot clock, but the best shots in college basketball come in the first 7 seconds of the shot clock. So, there's an old saying, right? Shoot it before you turn it over. And so we're going to shoot. And I think, right, we've got we've got an inside presence, too. So that creates great spacing for us. That creates the ability to shoot. Our goal this year was to shoot 33s. And someone said, wow, you must have really good shooters. I'm like, no, we really can't shoot at all. We have to shoot at least 30, hoping we can make 10. So, yeah, there's not going to be like, we're going to play a style where young kids in the South Meck community, they can't wait to get to South Mecklenburg and put on a Sabres jersey. So we're going to get up and down a little bit, but I demand so much of my teams defensively that I think as a coach, you have to give them a bone offensively. You have to give them some freedom. Defense, hard work. Offense should be a little bit, they should be creative. They should have some fun. You teach them structure. You teach them what a good shot is. You put them in the situations for them to be successful, and then you let them go.
Coach, you talked a little bit about how your play style is going to be like. It sounds like it's going to be awesome, and the players are going to absolutely love playing for you. But have you been able to dive into a little bit of what your roster, what you're going to be bringing in next year, and maybe what are some of the short-term goals for this team?
So I have. I mean, I'm communicating with all of my players. We're actually doing some things. I have some shooting challenges going on where they're going out, like some of my favorite drills. They're going out in the driveway. They're doing the shooting challenges. They're sending me their score. We're keeping track of who has the best score. So that's really exciting. We're trying to, some competition. With Joseph, I think, one of my assistant coaches is going to be a young man named Latiki Colombo. And Latiki was my very first Division I basketball player. He played for me at Herndon in 1990. We've remained friends ever since. And because of his influence at Herndon High School and because he became a Division I player, young players in Herndon wanted to grow up to be the next Latiki Colombo. I think Joseph has a chance to be my Latiki Colombo at South Meck. He has a chance to set the bar for young kids. I believe that he will be my very first Division I basketball player at South Meck, and young kids will grow up wanting to be the next Joseph Ferrante.
Well, it sounds like you been able to get a great relationship, start working there. You kind of answered it a little bit. My next question was, be able to introduce yourself to the team and do some like virtual workouts there. But it sounds like you've been staying in constant communication with everybody and trying to get them prepared. But how accepting have they been, and how excited do they sound like they have when you talk to them and everything?
Well, I tell you, our communication on text and and I made a point to call each and every kid. I think that's important. And I almost think because of the distance, it's actually helped foster a relationship, because too often now we don't pick up the phone. We rely too much on Twitter. We rely too much on text. So I've been able to pick up the phone and actually have conversations. And so I think anytime young people, there's a new coach, they're always going to be accepting. I think it's like I told Joseph, like there are two people that can't have bad days in practice, and that's the head coach and the best player. So unfortunately, with my seniors, I don't have 4 years to develop the relationship that we would like to. What they have to understand is my job as a coach is to get them to a level that even they didn't think possible. And there are going to be days where they don't like me very much. But they have to understand that whatever happens between the lines is not personal. I love them to death. And when we step off the court, we can have a good time. But that's my responsibility. And I'll tell you a story, if you don't mind. Latiki Colombo, this is what helped shape me as a coach. When I got the head coaching job at Herndon High School, Latiki Colombo, 6'7", about 220, and he had just come off being the AAU, back when AAU was the only summer basketball. Latiki was the AAU national MVP. I'm a young coach, had no business being a head coach, and I was completely intimidated by Latiki Colombo. I allowed him to practice with, or like come to open gym with his shoes untied, not wear gym shorts, different things. I was intimidated by him. In the summer, going into his senior year, Gary Williams from the University of Maryland called me and said, Coach, I'm going to go watch Latiki play tonight. If Latiki plays hard, we're offering him a scholarship. Well, that was before cell phones, and I chased Latiki all over Herndon and couldn't find him because I needed to tell him to play hard tonight. I should never have to tell one of my players to play hard. So I went to the AAU game. I sat beside Billy Hahn and Gary Williams, and one of the first plays of the game, there was a loose ball. Latiki bent over to pick it up. A kid on the other team dove after it and tipped it away, and Coach Williams walked out of the gym. And I said to myself, I made a promise, never again will I cheat one of my kids. So you guys that are listening to this, understand when I get on you this year, it's because I love you and because I care about you and I want what is best for you.
Coach, you were just recently selected to the McDonald's All-American game. What went through your mind when you heard your name being selected for that prestigious honor?
Well, I thought it was a mistake, because there are amazing coaches that deserve that much more than I do. And to be quite honest, I thought they were calling me because the game was in Houston. Joe Wooten is, of course, Morgan's son, and he's in charge of the McDonald's All-American game. So when I heard the game was in Houston, I called Joe to offer my gym as a practice facility. So Joe and we never connected, and I never heard back from him. So a couple of weeks went by, and I got a phone call from Terry, his wife, and I didn't call her back because I thought that she was calling just to tell me they didn't need our gym. So I was busy, didn't call her back. Well, then I'm sure you know John Rhodes at the Beach Ball Classic. So John Rhodes called me and he said, Coach, have you called Terry Wooten back? And I'm like, no, I haven't called her. I've been busy with practice. He's like, well, you need to call her right away. So I called Terry thinking, I was like, well, maybe they do need our gym. So I called Terry thinking that she was going to tell me they needed St. Thomas's gym for practice. And that's when she told me that I had been selected as the coach of the McDonald's All-American game. And I really did think it was a mistake. It's such a humbling honor, but it really, that honor is because of all my assistant coaches, the administration, and certainly because of my players. I've been blessed to have really, really good players.
Well, congratulations on that prestigious honor there. We have a few more minutes. I just wanted to wind this down. Who's been the biggest influence on you as a high school coach?
Dean Smith.
A great one. If fans could watch any one college team, which team would best resemble a team coached by Gary Hall?
North Carolina, Villanova.
All right, my rapid question, 35-second shot clock. Favorite college team?
Go Heels.
Opposing coach you learned the most from?
Red Jenkins, W.T. Woodson High School.
3 keys to being a successful coach?
Knowledge, relationships, salesmanship.
The moment you realized you were going to be a high school coach?
9 years old, watching my dad coach my Little League baseball team.
Wow. Coach, the one thing that just by talking to you, I can see the enthusiasm, the power of positive thinking, and it's just like a lot of these young players that watched The Last Dance, and after they watched it, everybody was wanting to go out and immediately go out and play and work on their game. Listen to you, the enthusiasm, the positive thinking, makes me want to get back into coaching.
Hey, there's always a place for you. You're always welcome in our gym.
Well, listen, Coach, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today. We want to say congratulations for being the new head coach at South Mecklenburg. We hope to get you in some of our Phenom events for this coming year, and we just want to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it. Go Sabres.
Yes. Thank you again, Coach. This is another tremendous episode of the Coach's Corner. So we just want to thank you again and wish you the best of luck in the coming years there. So for myself, Rick Lewis, everybody from Phenom Hoop Report, stay tuned and keep on continuing to check out, and make sure you leave some comments. Let us know what you want to hear and everything like that. So we'll check you back next time on the next latest Coach's Corner.
Uh-huh.